In this episode of Cubs Out Loud, it's our What's Going On for the month of June. And surprise, we're all in person for the first time ever. Shot on the road style, listen in as the Cubs sit together and catch you up on their month of pride. With highs and lows, ups and downs, June is busting out all over for the Cubs. Get some balls in your mouth as COL745 starts now. Sunday, July 7th, 2023. I'm Jeff, and I don't have a sound playing. Who's your bear? That's right. I am your bear.
I'm Damon. I don't brew the tea. I just serve it.
And that makes me Gary.
Don't hurt nobody, your bad self. Welcome to Cubs Out Loud on the Bear Podcast of Interminably, episode number 745. We're in person.
Surprise!
Surprise! We're all in the same place. I mean, after like 2 months, almost, just give it about a week. No, after 2 months of actually being in the city, I finally get to see Damon in person and give him a hug yesterday.
And not only that, we're in my house.
We're in his house.
Yeah.
Which is probably better than being in my really tiny apartment, which doesn't really have as much stuff, or any facilities can have something where we can sit down and be in front of a camera. Just fix on that.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be like that little nook I've been talking about. Maybe we can kind of make that like podcasting. Although we could actually just set up the camera on top of my TV. We could all just be on the futon. That would work. Ideas. We're still trying to figure out. But we're all in one place. You've seen these two chuckleheads, be in the same place at the same time doing one of their lovely on the road shows.
Yeah.
Or the last time you saw us 6 feet apart with a divider between us. Because I was at the bear run.
Was that the last OTR?
That was the last OTR because we were at World Bear and we were in Florida and I got COVID.
Yeah.
And we recorded the episode, so I had a 2-room suite, and Damon was over on the living room side that had a bar and a countertop, and he was sitting there, and there were these large panel wood sliding doors that we put into place, and I was sitting like 6 feet away on the other side, 3 feet from the door, and so I had my laptop, and I was like, we were both facing the same direction and like recording like.
That was COL 672.
That was a wild episode to record.
But this will be different.
Yes. It's been years since I recorded here in your house. So yeah, we're all in person. Ta-da! It only took for the two of you, what did we say? It took 13 years? No, 12 years.
12 years.
12 years to actually see each other in person. Because you and I also have recorded in the same room before. But we were still doing Skype. It was one of my apartments in Austin.
Did we record when I was down there?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Remember the tray table? And I think you were using my overstuffed chair.
Oh, maybe I did.
Yeah.
I just remember
that.
That
was on the second floor.
I remember, right, I met you when you were in Austin. I was there for work, and I remember we went out for barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was telling people this recently about coming down here to record, and I had said, because someone asked me, like, have you ever met, so none of you have met, and I was like, no, I've actually met Jeff before. I said, but I happen to be in Texas for work, so that's how we end up meeting.
Yes.
So, yeah. But yeah, so we're all here. Ta-da! And before we get into the usual stuff, for those that might have maybe sort of kind of sleuthed and figured out, we actually did a little road trip yesterday. Because we were here, and these two popped my cherry. So, I got to go to the great mega land of IKEA here outside Cincinnati, Ohio, and they got to see me have my first experience going through what is the mega like store like experience of I.
Since we're already talking about it. What's good? We're doing an immediate what's going on of just yesterday. And strangely enough, Damon and Jim actually arrived,
Yes. Well,
which seems so weird
you know,
because Damon is notoriously known for being daily late.
So now you know who is the person that keeps me on time.
Oh, so Jim's the one that made sure that you were there.
No.
Oh.
I made a point to make sure that we left a little earlier.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted to make sure that we got there on time. Because it's 30 minutes away.
Right, and the irony is, so where I stay, usually when I'm in Cincinnati, I stay with, I call them family, friends that are family. I stay at their house, and they're not far from you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a couple miles away. But the irony is, I was last
Mm-hmm.
to show up because I did not, like, I mean, I knew, like, mileage, it was like, oh, it's about a half an hour. But then, of course, traffic, and if you know anything about Cincinnati highways, they are pretty much always under construction. So there was that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I also added at least a minute trying to figure out how the hell to park at IKEA because the entrance is not the most obvious. It's one of those, like, you pull in and you cannot go straight towards the building. You have to go left or right and go way around the parking lot. And if you don't catch the earliest entrance, you end up then going even farther around, like almost toward the backside of the building to come in again. And anyways, it's like a labyrinth. And then even when I left, you guys had left and you had left. I was the last one leaving and I didn't pay attention and I ended up going to the outer version of the parking lot and doing like these donuts to be able to try to figure out how to get back onto the road that lets you out of the parking lot and onto an actual nearby road. So there was that. But yeah.
By the way, I only live like 10, 15 minutes away from the IKEA.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because I live on the north side.
Probably me.
I live on the north side of the city. You live like
West.
down in the boonies and
Yes, it's
west because I was like, wow, they're like, wow, this is like Austin, Minnesota.
what's on the west side.
It's not all. I mean,
Like
I don't
feel
think-
like out like it just driving here. It feels like I went out into the boonies.
You'll learn. Cincinnati is kind of divided east side, west side. You're technically neither. You're north, but
right.
like
Technically, I'm not in Cincinnati.
true.
I'm in a suburb of Cincinnati.
Right. I was gonna say Cincinnati's very expansive, but not expansive like DFW. Like, so Dallas Fort Worth is like two big cities that are just like symbiotically grown into each other.
Or Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Right. So like Cincinnati, like some of the other
Arlington's right in between Dallas Fort Worth, so they're not like touching.
yeah, they're like a triad. You know, it's very open.
Yeah.
But no, like so Cincinnati's very spread out, and the 275 like kind of is the circumference like highway around it. But
See,
there's lots
Minneapolis,
of fun
St. Paul's
areas.
even better because it has 694 and then 494, so it actually has two separate highways doing the loop.
Wow.
It also has 35 west going through Minneapolis and 35E through St. Paul and 94 going right down the middle.
Yeah. So like
There's a reason
here-
why traffic in Minneapolis, St. Paul is.
So yeah, here you're to the north, and you're basically west.
West of downtown, west-ish.
Well, northwest.
Yeah, northwest.
Yeah, because Cincinnati's interesting thing is downtown is on the river.
Yeah.
So kind of like the closest reference I can make is Pittsburgh, like because Pittsburgh has rivers. So like the downtown is on the riverfront, and then things are on the outside of it. But yeah. So we went to IKEA yesterday. I got to see what the IKEA aesthetic is all about and have that experience. We did go to the cafe. We had very yummy food.
We all got balls.
I
No,
didn't get balls.
You didn't get balls. That's right,
Damon
you
didn't get balls. Damon decided he wanted to have salmon.
Yes.
He had a very healthy lunch. I was very proud of him.
Meanwhile, I was the one who got 12 balls.
As did I.
You got 12 balls too?
Well, because I didn't know that you can get 8, 12, or if you really pay attention, you can get 16.
Yeah, I was like, that's probably pushing it.
Yeah.
I was tempted because I was starving. I was hungry.
As was I, but then I was very full.
But it also came with some mashed potatoes and some peas. The only thing
Yes.
is, I didn't see anything, and maybe I missed it while going through things. I didn't see any like butter or something that I could put on the peas.
No. And I also thought about that because the peas were very fresh tasting, but they had no seasoning to them. And I thought of it as we were sitting at the table. I was like, I kind of looked and I didn't want to say anything awkward. Like I didn't see any salt and pepper anywhere.
They had
What, you didn't see me
kiosk,
bring
little-
back with the 2 packets that I
Oh, I remember. No, I remember because then Damon, with the salt thing. But by then I was already eating. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, it's not
Well,
that
and then
big a
I did
deal.
the Minnesota thing of just ending up mixing everything.
So we had a good experience. I laughed because I did end up buying a couple of things, not very much. I just bought, being my usual frugal self, I bought stuff on discount. In fact, I gave Jeff and Ron their items, and they were like, "You don't have to buy us anything," and I was like, "Listen, I paid $2, so shut the hell up. Like, it's not that big of a deal." Like that dock sale is really the thing to be on the lookout for. And they didn't know anything about it. And I said to them, we kind of talked, and I was like, now I feel like you kind of have to watch to see when they do that because I get the impression they don't do it very often. So I was like, oh, okay. Like it was nice to go into that extra section and see the stuff because that stuff was really, really discounted.
And you found something that
The strainer.
I got a new colander,
Yes.
which I think is going to be nice to have. I do have a colander, but
Mhm.
this one's like it's a whole colander, while the other one is like the slash
Mhm.
colander.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole colander might be a little bit better for like training my canned chicken. I'm gonna make things, and I was like, and speaking of which, right, I got home, I was like, oh, I could use this. I'm gonna make. I did get some tuna, and then I realized, oh no, I got the tuna in the packets.
Yeah.
Which I don't need a strainer.
No, you do not. No.
Right.
No.
Which we'll talk about after. I have anyway. Sorry. I was realizing I got tuna packets and I don't think I'm going to use them. Anyway, it's a random aside. Like that's totally.
So, anyways, we did go to IKEA yesterday. It was a nice couple of hours.
I got a coffee table, which was actually a TV stand, but it works perfectly for a coffee table for the room I want it for. So,
Yay.
I started putting it together, but it was really late at night, and I kind of got tired, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to working on on-trail and go to bed. I also got some sweet bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't help but think about dirty things to use that for. But
That's your choice.
But I think the squeeze bottles would be great for like I could just like put some oil in there. Like when I make some of my burger sauce, it would be great for using that for that. And distributing that. I mean, technically, I would use that for like ketchup too, and ketchup and mustard. But usually the bottles I get are easily squeezable, so it's really not that big of a deal. But what else did I get? I got some mouse. Did I get some else? Oh, I also got some. I got some frozen meatballs and grabbed one of their packets of sauce mix.
Oh, nice.
The only thing is that I realized, oh, I need heavy cream for
Oh, well.
sauce. And I'm like, well, fortunately, I have a Kroger that's not too far from my house.
Right.
I still have not broken my Jungle June cherry, so I still need to do that.
Make another excursion.
Well, I was just going to say, I was talking with Jeff and Ron actually about Jungle Gems, and when Ron had gone, it was like a Saturday morning or something, and I was like, yeah, I'm like, when you go to the original, it's best to go probably midweek, not when like the crowds are there because it gets really
Oh yeah,
freaking
don't
crazy
make
and
me.
busy.
Do not go on a weekend. Do not go on a weekend.
By the way, I just want to say Jim was awesome at made Army Palmer. It was great.
Yes.
Teaspoon.
He poured.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we did that yesterday. It was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I expected it to take a couple hours just because
Mhm.
it's gawking and looking around and stuff like that. Some of the stuff is really decently priced, like especially like not even in the dock like sale section.
Yeah,
They just
yeah.
had some things marked down. Like the
Mhm.
interesting thing is like the spatula that I picked up, it was like 50 cents. Like I figured out why it was marked down because they came up with an exact same version of a different color model, and so they were just like, we need to get rid of the old stuff because and I was like, I don't care about the color.
Yeah.
Like it's not that big of a deal. It's going to be in a drawer. Like
Yeah.
I need
care
it.
about the color.
True.
What I really want right now is like, or what would be really cool to get would be a electric kettle in red. I don't think anybody has red electric kettle. They're all black, which is fine because my theme for my kitchen is red and black. Yes, I'm that gay. I'm theming my rooms.
Hey, you do what you can.
Yeah, here we go.
Do we want to get into our
Sure.
past months,
Past months, yeah,
respectively?
normal start for me. It's always darkest before the dawn.
Dun,
So June has been awful.
Mm.
Not because of my place or anything like that. Here I am. I'm in Cincinnati for just a few weeks, for half a month. And something about being in a new place got me extremely horny.
Okay.
So I ended up chatting with this guy at Growler and setting an appointment. I was going to go to him and say, hey, can you pick something up? Okay, trust me. Yes, I was thinking with my dick, okay? I was not thinking with my head. I was freaking horny. And you're right. So he asked, hey, can you pick something up so we can distract my kid? An Apple gift card.
Oh Lord.
It gets worse.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's me being completely dumb. Apparently, whatever this game was some. I'm gonna put this all in quotes. Was something that just ended up needing a lot of money.
Mm.
So I kept getting gift cards. And I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to help this guy out. Being like, no, there were so many red flags.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept going, and I was just an idiot. Got scammed out of $1,200.
Wow.
So just so people know who are listening and are watching, Jeff already told me about this. So I've known about this. I'm gonna say so. Damon's the one who's funny. So I didn't want people to think like I was not caring or interested.
Who the fuck this is?
Here's the thing: it's honestly, I don't know who this is. There's reasons why I'm saying it that way too. Because I'm new here. I don't know anybody or anything. So yeah. So eventually got to $1,200, and I just kind of cut him off, and he says, "Please, get the card." And I'm like, "Look, I literally don't have any money. You've drained my bank account. I can't get anything else." And he says, "Well, I'm going to reimburse you. You just need to get that last card."
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, he's said last card quite a few times.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Well.
I mean, for Christ's sakes, I don't want any more of this. I just want my money back. He had given me an address before, which I think is probably bullshit now that I'm actually thinking clearly. And and I mentioned, look, I have no money. I can't get a card because I can't pay for it. Now, maybe if you give me your reimbursement that you were saying, I could get you another card. And then he kept refusing, and I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't even get paid until Friday. And this was on Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, oh, I can't wait until then. And then something happened. It's like, okay, we'll wait. And then Friday, it was like, okay, can you get the one last? No, it was I had spent $11.50 that day. I got another $50 for the gift card, and then I was like, no, this doesn't work. That card doesn't have any money on it, or something like that. Fuck this. No, I'm not doing this. I'm not paying any more. I just want my money. Just my money back. I've already overdrafted a little bit. Fortunately, we was budgeting enough to avoid actually getting too deep into an overdraft. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting anything else. And he just kept refusing and everything. So I just kind of went home and just was like, whatever. And me being like naive and thinking this was actually a real person that possibly was just being a really bad person of not paying me back when he could just pay me back the money I won. And he just kept, I just kind of kept it open, kept the conversation until he says, look, we'll meet up here and I'll pay you money or something like that. We keep going. I keep refusing. He keeps saying, so you don't want your money back? And I'm like, I do want it back, but I'm not going to try too hard for it until you just give it to me. And he says, the only way you get it back is if you get that another card. And I'm like, no, I'm literally not going to do that.
Right, that's not how that works at all.
Yeah.
No. So.
Oh, it's not done yet.
Oh God.
It was about 2 weeks later. I get home from work, or he says, look, you're gonna give me that card, or I'm gonna, I know where you live, I know where your accounts are, I'm gonna get your nudes posted everywhere, I'm gonna send it to your workplace. And I'm like, I don't care. I've posted nudes. I've been in a porn, and you know what? I don't care. You do whatever. You're gonna find out. It's not gonna really impact much, if anything.
Now, did you say all that to this person?
And I didn't go to him.
Well, no, because so when you had kind of told me about this and like,
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was all like one event.
This conversation was the initial part of what I'm about to get to.
Okay.
Okay. You know what I'm going to refer to. And somehow, it was like at 10:30, I'm going to be releasing all this. 10:30 rolls around, or 10 o'clock rolls around, and like, just for good measure, did a few things like reset my Facebook password, so, standard things, just in case. Good precautions, even if it really didn't need to, but nothing happened. Crickets.
Yeah, imagine that.
Next thing I know, he starts making death threats. Needless to say, scared the living shit out of me. And I literally, for the first time in my life, called 911. I was terrified. I literally had
much lights off as I could, so we couldn't see into the apartment or anything, and I had my blinds closed anyways, and I actually just kind of started, when I was on the call, I even went into my kitchen, which is opposite side of the apartment and not within visual sight of it. And like, I was utterly terrified. Officer came over, took the report, gave him everything that I could about that I had about him, and even transcripts of the, because here's another thing, we switched from Growler to WhatsApp, but was able to export the WhatsApp conversation
Good.
and emailed it to him, and just sent him everything he had I could, and he says, okay, look, most likely, did you ever tell him where you live? I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, most likely, it's just a whole bunch of bluffing, trying to scare you, trying to get north. This is all just a scammer scamming.
Right.
You're probably not getting the money back. At that point, I had already just written it off. Like,
Right.
I did something on, I lost $1,200. What can I do? And I'm still hysterical, terrified at that time. And he said, look, here's some things you can do. I don't think anything's going to come to this. It's probably going to just kind of whimper out. But as precautions, because we still kind of have to take this seriously. Don't go at night. Leave your apartment front light on at all times, and just gave me some mild precautions.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, I actually pulled because we were working at that point in time from noon to 9, and I had just started actually, because we had a series where we were actually training with the client for the workflow we're doing. And it got to a point where we needed to train one of the batches that wasn't in that training that had already started. So they just said, okay, this week just go up, start their training. We got some new people that need onboarding as well, etc. So I got to start doing my job.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of being trained to do training in onboarding, which is a whole nother issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I pulled her aside, told her what was going on, and said, look, can we get off at 8 instead? And I explained the situation. It's just like, so I'm driving during daylight, and I get home and safe, and things might be totally fine in the end, but precaution. So we eventually were able to. She said, "Yeah, we'll do 11 to 8 instead of 12 to 9." We were only doing 12 to 9 because that's what people downstairs were doing, but that was because the client was here. It's like, and I'm like, well, we're not dealing directly with the client. We could be working 11 to 8 anyways.
10 to 6.
Right. But, I tried that. Well, that's beside the point. Yeah, and ended up just kind of being a whipper. He's tried chatting me up a few times. I blocked him at this point in time. I just lost him. So, rule of thumb, if somebody asks you to pick something up, hope it's like, can you get some lube? Not necessarily for them to keep, but they need some lube.
Yeah.
Or some other, supplies for the event. That would probably be the extent of what you could purchase for anybody. So I learned stuff the hard way. Don't think with your dick.
Well, I mean, so 2 things ended up happening in this. Like, it started off as a scam, the whole gift card aspect of things. And then it pivoted, and when they started threatening with the nudes thing, then that moves into the territory of what's called sextortion, which is like extorting things out of people like related to sex. In this case, they were like wanting to give your nudes and stuff out to the world or post them to your work. And when you reached out to me about that, like, my thought was, which I'm glad to hear later, like you had the attitude that you did, which was, I don't care. Like it's not that big of a deal. But it did make me think about, like, with my job, if that were to happen to me, like, what would that mean? And I'd have to have a frank conversation, you know, with my higher ups about what's going on. But I also feel like, given that I work for the local government, I'm like, you kind of be an idiot to do that. Because not that I work for the FBI or the CIA, but I'd be like, really? Like you're not going to get very far with that, you know, in that case. It's not going to do much. And given the work that I do, it has to revolve around people and their behaviors. And one of those behaviors is having sex. So, like, it's not unheard of. I mean, it would be a weird blending of, like, my personal life versus my work life, which it shouldn't be, but it did make me think about that. Like, you have to take caution when you're interacting with people in social media and websites and that. And, like, I've thought about that a lot since you talked to me about it. That, like, you know, like, I'm in Cincinnati. I go on the apps. I think I've talked about this very openly. I'm a voyeur. Like, I'm very, like, interested in kind of seeing and watching, not that I'm really seeing and watching anything, but, like, seeing profiles and that kind of stuff. And you never know, I might end up, you know, having a conversation with somebody that does turn into something over time and significant. And yet, like, pay attention to those red flags, like those things that come up that keep you kind of wondering what really the situation is. And it is different, especially when it's just about, you know, brown chicken, brown cow, like, activity kind of stuff, as opposed to, like, dates and, like, possibly it being a relationship and whatever. So
I think overall, you know, I will say I'm sorry it happened. I'm getting angry because it happened here. Probably more like because, like,
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, because it's
fair.
here. So maybe that's why I'm like, who the fuck is this person? But no, I don't even know. We're not going to get into all. You've taken care of it. You've done
No, we
something.
can see if you can find mine.
I mean,
I probably can't find them because these block times.
Yeah.
Well, but and this kind of, like, brings up the thought about, I mean, we've heard stories of people having hookups go very, very badly, like disastrously in horrible ways. And so it kind of, I mean, there was a time a couple of years ago, like, I will own that I did this. I created a Google Drive folder that was password accessible. No, it wasn't even password accessible. I shared it specifically with a couple of friends who I trusted, like, that I wanted them to have the knowledge that there was potential of a hookup happening, and I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. And I did that intentionally, that I put in the doc. I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to share a folder with you, and there's going to be a document in there. If something were to happen, you go to this document, you will find what information I have already put on there, which was meant to be profile name, any identifiable information, a phone number, an email, like, whatever. I can't remember what really prompted it. Most likely it was one of these, you know, really, you know, bad stories in the press about a hookup that, you know, ended it very unfortunately. And just as a cautious kind of thing, because it made me realize I'm single, I live by myself, like, I'm not really answerable to anybody. And it probably would be a little while before someone might notice something. Like, I have some habitual things. So, like, every Sunday, pretty much, we record the podcast.
Right.
If I disappeared, these two would probably, like, start blowing up my phone or something and being like, what the hell? And then there's work. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot else that kind of tracks that stuff. So that was my way a few years ago. This was probably pre-pandemic, maybe, that I put that together and never really ended up using it. But it does make me think about things. Like, I've always been kind of cautious about someone coming into my home. Like, but it also makes me cautious about going to someone else's home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like,
There's-
you know, like there's a part of me that would, you know, yeah, I'd like to go over so, you know, I can have some fun, but at the same time, I'm like, one, it's somebody else's house usually, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. And then two, what's the safety standard? You know, I don't know. It's mixed.
It's one of those things where you kind of have to figure out the balance between
Mhm. It is
safety and risk.
Yeah, that
No,
is.
risk, being risk aware.
Yeah. Yes.
That's fair.
Risk aware,
Very fair.
consensual. Yeah, RAC is a thing in the community. Knowing and understanding the risk involved and being okay with doing the things, because you have to be aware of what could potentially happen, and you can potentially prepare, but you're not going to be able to prepare for everything. That's impossible.
Sure.
But
again, being
Yeah.
aware
Yeah.
of what it is and be willing to take that risk.
yeah, and I think we all can say at a certain point in time we've been guilty of thinking with our second head as opposed to our first head, and that is often.
Oh, it's guaranteed. I have done things in the past. I look back on it and I'm like, ooh, you were chemically imbalanced. You were not necessarily like being cautious with that. I mean, one of my, this is going to sound weird, fonder recalls of a hookup was a person I met at the bar, had been drinking, went to their house. We were in their basement. Like, see? Like, there are these things where you're like, and I've never been to their home before. I like, although I will say this, when I'm driving near that neighborhood, I do think of them every once in a while. I don't know if I'd find the exact house, but there's a part of me that like, there were some distinct things that stood out about it. As a complete sidebar, I don't know if I mentioned this before, while we were like going at it in the basement, they had a TV on in the background and Richard Simmons infomercial was playing. So every time like an oldie like replay of a Richard Simmons clip or something comes on, it invariably makes me think about that.
Oh Lord!
Because there was a part of me that was just all I kept thinking is, could we
turn the TV off?
could we mute it? Like,
Like,
you know, or turn the volume down to 3 or something. You know. Anyways. Yeah.
I will say, I've had I'm sure we could. I mean, we've had our, bad sex stories. We've talked about that in the past on the show, and we could probably, this might be another topic. Like, we could potentially bring up things like the horror stories, as it were.
In some sense, this also is a good PSA for those people who are filming acts for posting on various platforms.
You mean content creators?
Content creators. Well, for one thing, and this is, it's not shade, that's true.
No.
But here's one thing. If you're trying to have sound to muffle the current actions because you don't want to disturb neighbors or whatever, don't use a standard television. Use music.
Well, so this is where it gets a little tricky, because if you're a content creator, music is copyrighted. And so you can get into trouble legally that way, that you're not paying royalty rights for music unless you get royalty-free music.
Otherwise,
or if you know the artist personally and you ask them permission to play their music in your background.
Or you use royalty-free music.
Right, but I hear you, like there's also, because we've seen those videos, like when Pornhub was the thing, when X2 was the thing, the amateur stuff that was happening in people's homes, and they'd have like a movie or a TV show on or whatever in the background. There were times I was busy paying attention to the commercial or whatever was happening because I was trying to figure out what was playing in the background, because no offense, what was happening right in front of the camera was not that like exciting. I mean, it wasn't horrible. It was just like, it was distracting. It's kind of like, I was like, oh, that's the weather forecast? Well, that means this must have been at that time of year. Because sometimes it would actually tell you, or there'd be a phone number. They'd be like, area code 513. And I'd be like, what's the area code for 513? Like, and I don't think people realize that stuff kind of identifies you.
Yeah. So that's why there's YouTube channels specifically for like royalty-free music and an audio library for music content creators.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, just.
As I said, royalty-free music. There is sources for royalty-free music. And you can find some good stuff out there too.
Or If you're not going to record it, then yes, put on your hookup playlist for getting your groove on. As long as no one's recording, who cares? So things are
Especially
better now.
for, yeah. Well, here's partly a problem is because I didn't have that $1,200. I did get very short on cash because May 29th, I submitted one of my claims for relocation. So I'm going to get reimbursement for that. In this case, was for movement of goods. So before I submitted that, I had to email the receipt and how much I'm claiming to one place to get an approval. Got that approval. And then I was gonna kind of hold on to it while I try to get the stuff that I need for my apartment, my old apartment, so that I can also email that same group to have them approve it. So because they're large sums of money, I think it is, because it's like movement of goods, movement of car, and lease breakage, excess rent. I can claim that I need approval from this one group. And I put on May 29th, I put in the claim. It was approved by my supervisor, approved by the MAC approver. Then it went to finance.
Where it gets lost,
And it stayed there
right? It just nothing happens.
for a week, for 11 days. For 11 days, out of 11 days, and this is probably about like late, not quite the end of July or June. July now, June. And they finally say, hey, we can't read your receipt. I'm like, and then, unfortunately, the people we had, I think they wrote in pencil, and also they gave me the carbon copy and not like the top copy.
Right.
So, yeah, that's fair. And I didn't have anything for things, and I don't know. I just, and in the end, I submitted something else, and they were like, no, that's not good enough. And then I'm like, for fuck's sake, I need this money because I'm like literally like I'm not even sure if I was gonna be able to pay my rent this week. Because in addition to that, I finally get my stuff for my old apartment so that I can submit that. One, the group that I have to email had to email to get the approval for before I submitted the claim. They emailed me back saying, hey, can you please call me? Here's my number. And I tried calling them 5 times and never got them to answer the phone. And I left messages like every time. And next thing I know, it's proof. After I was also complaining to my supervisor about this. Basically, they've been trying to keep tabs on how our process is going because they should be pushing this through. So they're trying to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. And then after the second request, I'm just like, I've had enough. I've already, my job, the work that I'm doing, I need to concentrate on these new hires, but I'm training a group that's been here for a month and hadn't gotten started the training because we were doing the training downstairs. And then they've been here for a month. They got some new hires that needed to be onboarded. They don't have access to the tools because we need equipment from the client in order to be able to access all the tools. And then the very next week, we have another new hire, and then two of these new hires aren't even the workflow that I'm trying to train, but they want me to do the onboarding. They're not taking them until they're done with the onboarding. They're all done with all their mandatory trainings, which takes a week or two if the LMS system is actually working properly. And then finally get the approvals, and because of the thing came in back, my supervisor came in, okay, let me see the receipt. Okay, he pulls out a pen and actually overwrites all the parts so that it's actually clear, and I'm like, I swear they're probably going to say something like, well, you altered the thing. But in the end, they approved the claim for my lease breakage, which was the last claim I did about 2 weeks after I submitted my movement of goods one, first.
Of course. Let's just work backwards.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
And then a day or two later, and I think it was because we're like, look, this is my supervisor got together with some people and was like, this is bullshit. Just prove the damn thing to get them paid.
Right.
They have all the documentation just to prove it. Okay, just do it. And they approved that, and then I have to wait for the payment to get through. Well, fortunately, I got my bigger amount, my lease breakage, got that before my rent came due, so I was able to pay my rent up.
Good.
Also, at that same time, I was able to hit purchase on my Amazon cart. Guess what was in that cart?
Your bed.
A Casper pillow, Casper bed frame, a Casper, their box spring foundation doesn't have any springs, so I don't know why it's called springs. The Casper mattress, and then the pillow came first, then the mattress. But then the next Monday, got my bed frame. The next day, I got my foundation. Put those together quite quickly. And now I have a bed.
Good.
And many people have seen proof.
We'll get to that.
I mean, I did post in Telegram. I took a picture of my bed.
I was waiting. Okay.
Yeah.
I was presuming that's what you meant.
And then, also during the end of month, the latest expansion of Final Fantasy XIV launched. Yay! So I've been making my way slowly through that while occasionally putting together furniture because I've gotten a nightstand and I got my stuff, got my table that I started putting together. I'm still not done with the MSQ on that, but
Right.
I've been working my way through it. It's been fun. I really have been enjoying it.
Good.
There has been this one part of the MSQ where they're like, is there someone who has passed that you would like to see again? There is one person I would really wish to be with again, who passed in 2007, a year after I moved down to Austin.
Right.
He was the same. But this is what Final Fantasy does to us. It makes us cry.
Okay.
And so my life has been complete clusterfuck at the beginning of the month, and then just stress up to the very last minute. And my work just wants to drive me crazy because guess what? I got new hires on Monday, and I'm not done training the previous batch.
Wow.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yes.
I will be fine once this is all over.
Right. I know.
But one thing that I at least got guaranteed from my boss is I will be able to take my 2-week vacation at the end of August.
Okay.
Because that's an annual ritual, you could say.
Yes. Right.
See, this is what you do. You save up your vacation time and just take it in like one big batch. Maybe not the entire thing, but at least batch. I'm only spending 10 days and I can save up to 20. I've got all of that. You know, I'm somewhere in the 10 to 20 range. I haven't looked yet. But in any case, that was my month. Damn it. How about you? While you're working on that, here's one of your wrestling.
Go for it.
Actually, I have one more.
Well, yeah, one. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep going. So June is Pride Month, obviously. We've talked. You have stuff.
But-
Yeah. So I, for the first time in a while, decided to march in the Cincinnati Pride Parade as a title holder. The Cincinnati
Oh,
letter
did
and
you?
everything.
Did you go with the soul?
Yeah.
And the,
Yeah.
ooh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
We're gonna talk. If you read what I said, you'll understand what's about to happen.
Okay.
So,
Yep. Okay.
For those of us for those of you who don't live on the East Coast, there was a bit of a heat wave around the end of June, actually for much of June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And since I Pride, the Saturday day was going to be was no exception. It was going to be about 90 something degrees, if not more than that, on that day. So I took precautions. We've talked about precautions. I bought a little thing to have a fan. I wore a very light outfit consisting of basically a tank top and like a kilt, rip kilt, like one of those lightweight kilts. I did not wear boots because I knew I was marching in a parade and that just wasn't going to happen. So kept it very light. I did have my stole on, hat, and all that stuff. Like that was the extent of what I was doing. And our high fish, who is the current world pet, but was the former and first Cincinnati critter, she was like, I'm going to bring a shit ton of water, and that's going to be a thing that we'll have. So I figured, okay, I brought some of my own, and I figured, this will be great. Well, not great. I'll get through it. I'll get through the parade. I had a backup. I had a plan. I wasn't staying for the festival. Like I was going to march in the parade. Jim was going to pick me up at the festival, and I was taking my ass home. Like that was the plan.
Yeah, you and he don't do so.
Yeah, I don't. So, and we're getting to that. The parade kicked off. And granted, I was there at 10. The parade didn't kick off till 11, a little after 11, and it was did pretty well. Drank shit like water like constantly. And it was
Really
for the
had
most
tea.
part. That would actually no. So that's the problem. You'll understand.
Oh.
So was fine for the most part. Got through some of the parade. There were many areas of shade, which was great because it's downtown, so there's big tall buildings and such. So that helped. It was up until we were heading down towards the river. For Cincinnati, the parade goes down past, I believe, between the Underground Railroad Freedom Center and then basically this block of buildings before the stadium, and it goes around those buildings and then goes back down and then goes over to Starting Point, which is at the end of the park. We started going downhill, and that's when we started starting and stopping. And I was noticing if I was moving, I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But stopping, and then having to start again, I was getting the track was getting to me. So, tried to get as much water. There are people people that were in the festival that were spraying water, doing what they could. We got around the stadium, and we had stopped for a moment, and we were there for a good while because it was vehicles and stuff, and you had certain people. This was like the exit point, so you had people getting around to where they needed to go. Vehicles went one way, walkers went another.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's going to be a traffic jam because there's all these people. There are 100, 200 something entrants in the parade. I was noticing I wasn't feeling great. I was getting breath was getting short of breath. Feet were killing me, and I did not have, which is a sign of dehydration.
Oh.
So I was like, I was going to see if I could make it to the festival, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. So I was like, I'm going to leave. I stepped away from the parade and got to some shade. I grabbed my water. I started drinking. I sat down for a minute, and I wasn't feeling better. I wasn't getting better. I was very much like couldn't catch a breath, very weak. My feet were very weak, and all this stuff. So called out for help because again, like the parade has kept going. Um, Called out for help. Random strangers, don't know who are. Thank you, whoever you are. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but thank you to whoever it was. They saw me. I told them I needed help. One of them went to go get police officer or someone down at the festival to maybe go get something. The police officer showed up, asked me if I wanted to get checked out. And I'm like, yes, because I could not. I was weak and I could not get up. Like I was feeling that kind of weakness. And while that was going on, I feel like 6 or 7 other people, again, random strangers that would just come into the festival, probably had watched the parade, came around me. They were fanning me, they were giving me water, and they stayed there. And I think that was the best thing because they didn't have to.
Right.
And they were talking me up and like keeping my spirits up, which I was really appreciated. I was coherent because I was reaching out to Jim and told him what was going on, so he would be on alert and know what was happening. I got checked out. My vitals were fine, so they did blood sugar and check my blood pressure and all that stuff. I knew that could have been an issue too because I have high blood pressure. But everything was fine. So they're like, okay, so do you want to be transported? And I'm like, no, because I'm fine. I know I have someone here. I just have to get to them. So they let me go. I made it to the festival, grabbed more water, kept going. I took my sweet time because I was walking still. Caught up with Jim and he picked me up and we came home. Well, we got food because that was the other thing. I was probably hungry because I had only ate that morning. And I stayed the fuck home. I stayed the fuck home. The chorus was supposed to be singing at 5 o'clock at the festival. And I had my original plan for the day was I was going to do the parade, come home, rest for a little bit, have some food, and then go back out. Yeah, so made this conscious decision. Once I got home, I was feeling much better staying in this AC'd house and such. That helped, but I knew better, and it was for the best. But I really cannot thank the people, the random strangers that stayed and stuck by, didn't know me from Adam person, and one of them had like a rag, not rag, but like one of those cool scarves that they grab. So they put that on my neck and everything. So yeah, that was my Cincy Pride mishap, as it were.
Yeah, I gave up on going to Prides a long time ago. I didn't like being like him too.
And for me, the only reason I felt bad was that I'm a board member for the chorus and we have a booth that we needed staffing for the day, and it's a great way for, as a person who doesn't charge a membership, I should be kind of there. But I was like, my health is more important, and that was one thing. I did reach out to my artistic director for the chorus, and he was like, because we were going to be doing the song and I had a solo, and obviously I'm going to be there to do the song. So they were like, I don't care about that. Like, how are you? Kind of thing, which I thought was a great way to put it. So, yeah, that was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
After all of that.
Yeah. Gary?
Well, I traveled, these past couple of months I've had a lot of travel. In fact, someone recently said, do you travel a lot for work? And I was like, well, not intentionally, but it's just turned out this way. Like since March, I've been doing a lot of driving here and there. Last month, I went to, I'm trying to think of where all I went. So I ended up going, earlier in the month I went to Columbus. I went to Columbus Pride.
Mhm.
Hung out with Chester, stayed with him, and this year they were not going to be marching in any particular part of the parade, so we actually watched the parade.
Mhm.
We only end up seeing the first 2.5 hours, not quite 3 hours of a 4-hour parade, because Columbus is very long, very like hundreds of thousands of people show up. It's a big deal. So I hung out with them with the furry group.
Mhm.
We had a cooler, we had bottled water, we had snacks. As the parade went on, I noticed that people kept receding and dissipating, and they were hiding in the shade.
Yes.
Because to be near the street in the section we were at was pretty much to be in the full sun, and we had brought a whole bunch of sunscreen. So at a certain point, there wasn't hardly anybody left of the original group of like 30, 40, 50 people. So, Chester had said, like, do you want to, go to the festival? Do you want to just go home? And I was like, we can go to the festival. So we went back to the car, took the cooler back and all with the leftover stuff, and then went down to the festival. Hung out for a bit, and then ended up eventually going and I think we went and got dinner someplace. But it was nice to like get away and do. I enjoy going to another city's Pride just to see what Pride is like where they do that and how they organize things. And that's because I'm on the board at home. So in between that and our own Pride, I ended up having to travel south by a couple of hours to a local city for a one-day conference. That was a really good gig to be able to do that. And got to network, have someone local from where I am, another provider, actually come to an event that I go to and see the same kind of people. So it was nice to like have them be introduced to other folks. For the statewide coalition, you can apply, and so this I think is helping prompt them to apply and maybe see if they'll get to be a member in the coming year. And then we had our Pride, which was a week ago this weekend. It was at the very end of June. And you know how like we had the heat waves? So I guess I'll ask, since both of you lived here, do you remember what the weather was like last weekend here in Cincinnati?
It was cooler. I feel like it was cooler. No. Last weekend.
I don't know. I didn't leave my.
It was about 80. It was in the 80s. If
Right.
I'm remembering. If not, yeah, it was definitely in the 80s.
Did you have storm fronts?
Yeah.
I thought it was raining.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's right. Yes.
So we had an outdoor Pride Fest, and we moved to a new location, which doesn't really have shelter. So as of Friday, the board made the decision to move ahead with having the event because it was a 40% chance or less of severe impact to the event. We knew it was going to rain, and we decided to move ahead. So we were there at 9:30 in the morning, meeting with the security team, going through that information. They have a direct line with the National Weather Service, public safety's involved. Like, I mean, this is a big deal because our event has grown quite a bit over the years.
Mhm.
And we're at a new location. So now it's a new plan and like evacuations and emergency stuff and all these things.
Right.
And it is raining. Pouring, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of knew. Like, in fact, I was amused because I showed up and most of the board members were running around with umbrellas. And I thought to myself, why? Why are you bothering? Like, you're going to get wet, and an umbrella makes you one-handed.
Yes.
Like, no one's running around with the hat version
Yeah.
or one that's like a harness on your shoulders. So like, and we had to set up 120 tables, 240 chairs. We had 140 tables and 280 chairs. Like, so like, and because of the rain, the grassy area where the food trucks were going to sit was now no longer an option because we didn't want to tear up the ground and have them get stuck. So we had to pivot and put them in a certain parking area. So a lot of these things happen. And the tables and chairs are like 45 minutes to an hour late.
God.
So that delays allowing the vendors to come in and get set. So now the vendors are like getting squabbly with us and like kind of pissy because they want to get in, and we were keeping everybody out of the park area because of this whole setup debacle. And like, we've got the volunteers, some of the volunteers are canceling, vendors are canceling, they're trying to call the board members, and we're like, we're busy. Like, we're very much a boots on the ground organization. This is not some corporate office entity where there's people manning the phones. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it continues to rain. It kind of lets up a little bit. And by this point, like, we decided to hell with the map. We had already predisposed and numbered where all the tables were going. We had made a spreadsheet where people were assigned. No one had been told this year. Usually we do that in advance. And we tell vendors, like, oh, you're going to be at spot, 3A or whatever. We didn't do that this year. And because of the rain, the president was just like, to hell with the map. Like, first come, first serve. Like, just take your damn table. Like, we don't care about any of this anymore. So we did that. And the vendors were coming in and they were getting set up and we're doing all of that. And then, the security team, this contract company we have to work with because of the space we're in is required, is taking care of security out front. And there are people, waiting to get in. And so they start letting people in finally. We were delayed with that. We still have entertainers. I asked a board member at one point, I was like, is the person who's taking care of the audio system, have they bothered to pay attention to whether or not, like, the rain is going to be an issue? Because I'm thinking what we don't want is a headline that a drag queen got electrocuted in a rainstorm. Just saying. Right, very funny, but also not the kind of press you want.
No.
And the thing is, where we're performing at, it's an amphitheater that's outdoors. So, like, there's a shell and a cover, but it's 360 open to the elements. And we're on the bay of the lake.
God.
So there's wind. I mean, there's all these factors. Anyways, so we start the official fest. Like, we start letting the public in. And we didn't get the messaging out very well. We own it. Like, it had been out there, but people didn't quite know that when they came, any open containers had to be disposed of. So, like, people who went to Starbucks or to a local, convenience store and got a coffee or something like that and hadn't finished their beverages, all those were being thrown out. So they asked us to have some trash receptacles up front. And there was a long, long, long line.
Oh, boy.
So many people patiently, beautifully waiting in the rain. Umbrellas, ponchos, I am soaked. Like I knew I was going to get drenched and I was perfectly fine with it because it was like 78 degrees. So it's warm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the one thing I cannot stand is being cold and wet.
Yeah.
But I'm not cold. I'm just wet because it's warm. And so, like, the rain kind of started up again. So I go out front and I'm helping wristband people. We're wristbanding purely to have a head count. To have an estimate as to how many people came to the event.
Right.
And while I'm out there doing that, someone behind me starts saying they're not letting anybody else in. And I was like, okay, that's odd. And then the other piece of the puzzle was, like, because of the rain and the distance and the storm, we weren't using our walkie-talkies we had brought because they weren't going to work. And we didn't want to have issues with the batteries if they got wet, blah, blah, blah. So then I'm trying to call one of the board members, and they can't hear me because they're way up at the other end of the park near the water, and of course there's wind. Like, long story short, we got a tornado watch. And it was for 8 hours.
Oh, no.
So the board pivoted and decided we had to shut the event down. So we had to get the word out to let everybody know that we were shutting down officially, and everybody had to leave the park. And all the vendors had to tear down.
Oh,
And leave the
no.
park. So within 5 hours, we basically set up in the rain, got everything ready, got everything delayed launched, and then turned around and reversed everything to the other direction. And consequently, that was Pride Fest. And so we shut it down and all the rest of it. And then the very next day was the Pride Parade. But the front had already come and run through. And it got it out of its system, basically. So then we turned around and the very next day did the parade, which was much better weather. Although it was windy, and when you're in just a t-shirt and shorts, you're like, when the wind's not blowing, it's nice. But when the wind's blowing, it's a little bit chilly. So I actually walked in my very first Pride Parade in my hometown ever. Ooh. And someone had said to me about, like, a good friend of mine was like, you've never walked in the parade before. And I was like, no, I haven't. I've walked in other cities, but not my own city. as it turned out. So it was an interesting experience to do the parade because what we decided was to not do the parade right before the festival like we normally do. So in the past, the parade was always the kickoff, and it came down the city main street, and then it got to the park where we used to have the parade.
Mhm.
And so basically, the festival started when the parade arrived. So a couple thousand people would just suddenly flood into the park and fill up the park and then all that stuff. And then we'd have the stage and the event. And this year we separated out because we moved to a different location for a more secure event.
Mhm.
We had protesters over the past, and they weren't necessarily a problem, but we were getting uncomfortable with the lack of ability to ensure our own security. Like last year, there were protests. If you remember, I think it was last year was the U-Haul incident where the U-Haul delivery truck was full of the guys that were all in the khaki pants and the navy, like polo, like mock turtleneck sweater crap with the bandana masks and the sunglasses, and they were intentionally going to interrupt a pride fest and were carrying like sticks to beat people with. Oh yeah, like a lot of shit happened. And so a week before the event, all these things are happening at all these prides across the nation, that there's potential rioters and disruptions and stuff. So we were very nervous last year about what could happen because our park is 360 access. It's downtown, and even though you can block rows, there's no real way to keep people on their feet from coming in and doing anything. And so, we were working with the city police, and we actually got a SWAT team, very thankfully, like last minute, and it didn't cost us to come in. So we literally had two big black armor bullet protected vehicles going around the outside perimeter of the park a year ago. So that was part of the reason we selected a new location to have more secure, access and comfort for our guests. So it was a big lesson in a lot of that. But going to the parade to the second day and separating it to keep the parade where it used to be, there's nothing at the end of the parade. We went to the park, but we didn't have anything planned.
Right.
Because it was just the parade. And some people had kind of understandably criticized us, on a bunch of things about having to continue and then the delay, then the shutdown. There was a lot of stuff. And we just this very weekend had our monthly board meeting, and we did a feedback session and talked about the things that people, kind of criticized us on and stuff. And we also talked about how some people, we feel like, well, they were trying to criticize, their feedback wasn't really helpful. Because I feel like folks didn't understand what it takes to put on an event. There's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of logistics, there's a ton of things that they just don't know about that we had taken into account that we were trying to prepare. One of the biggest vocal criticisms we got was, how dare you have an outdoor event without an indoor backup? Okay, well, we're already getting criticized for the corporatization of Pride, which is paying for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And with the money we got, we did what we could. We'd have to double the amount of money that was coming in to begin to afford to have a backup indoor location that we could just suddenly pivot to make things happen. Yeah. And so anyways, Pride was up, down, and all around. It was just all over the place for this particular month.
Indeed.
For me. I feel like it was a good experience to see how things came together. I will say this, people were so nice. All the people waiting in line, getting wet in the rain. I was thanking them, we're doing wristbands, and I'm being extra polite to people with arm hair, making sure that the adhesive part of the band when you put it together isn't going to catch their hair and cause issues or whatever. But I kept thanking everybody. I was like, thank you for coming to Pride, given what's happening, meeting the weather. At that moment, and they were like, no, thank you for putting on Pride. We're so excited to be here, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I was pleased that everyone was just so very nice about, they didn't give a shit about being in the rain. They could have cared less about it, which I thought was interesting because I kind of expected more people to be pissy about it. But to be fair, I think those people just didn't come.
Yeah. That's probably it.
Right.
If you're going to be a bitch about it, you're probably just I'm just not even about coming.
Right.
I know it's raining.
And we knew that was going to happen. We knew it was not going to be record-breaking attendance. We knew we were probably going to take a hit on the number of people that would come, how many vendors were going to be there. And that was the thing is like, as we're setting up, we were having this kind of discussion, like, how much do we set up? And it's like, well, we can only take away so many tables and chairs. And at that moment, we just had only been informed of a handful of people not coming.
Right.
Ultimately, we could have cut back a chunk, but then what? Like, we might have not been ready.
Yeah.
So long story short, Pride was Pride. Pride was the whole experience.
The consensus for everyone for June was a month.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, very, very much so.
And yes, I am proud. I just don't want to go out amongst a lot of people.
Which is fine. Yeah. I don't see that as that big of a deal.
Anyway, we move on.
I think so. Yeah.
Gary, what's been going on over in the Facebooks?
So over in Facebook, we had one new like this month. We would like to thank Corby Christopher for liking us on Facebook.
Corey Christopher!
I'm sitting there for numbers.
No,
Oh,
it's a reference to the Fifth Element.
Oh.
Corbin Dallas.
Oh.
Oh.
As opposed to the all-time classic Lulu multipass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his name is
No, I
Corby,
know.
but
I get
it's
it.
Corbin, it's...
Yeah.
Someone was wearing a suit recently, and I can't remember what it was, but they made reference to the character. Who was the act? Was it Chris Rock?
Oh, you're talking about
the
God.
celebrity DJ.
No. Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker.
It was Chris.
That outfit that he was wearing, someone made reference to it. They were like, "Oh, that's very Fifth Element," and of course, somebody younger was probably like, "I don't understand what that means." And then they were like, and then they did like a GIF or whatever where he like gets right up in the camera, like when they're on the ship. Anyways, total sidebar. Moving on. Damon, who do we want to recognize in the YouTube area?
Sure. So we have some new subscribers. Thank you, Dallas Dunstane, Eric Swan, Jesse Papa Bear, and Tim Taylor. Maybe not a tool man. Anyway.
Before you move on.
Oh, wait. I think it's actually answered in the next part.
Yes, but we would like to thank everyone who has subscribed on YouTube because we hit a milestone.
Oh.
I don't know if you were aware of this.
No.
Jeff and I were made aware of it.
Because we checked the email.
We actually got to 500 subscribers.
Yay! Thank you, subscribers.
We're not going to get a medallion or a wall plaque or any of that.
No, that's going to be that's far off.
In fact, their email did make me laugh. They were like, "Congratulations! Like, look at your subscribership." Like, they were so like, it's pre-written, but it's like optimistic about like, what you've been doing for the channel. Yeah. So, anyways, we also have two comments.
So 2 comments on COL740, which was our What's Going On for last month. Bobby Miller 7477 said, "Happy Pride Month. Great to see you guys." Woo. And so yeah, thank you, Bobby. And then for COL742, which was Does Anyone Woof Anymore? We got a message
This is from
Eric Swan 1417. "I was surprised to see this pop up in my feed. Hi, Jeff. Reporting that Wolf is alive and well so far as I can tell. The young Frankenstein hypothesis is plausible. Sounds more like oof to me for Terry Garr, but it's also possible that it arose separately within the Bears."
That's my cousin.
Ah, that's right.
So yeah, if and that was the episode I think that got us a lot of interest in terms of like people eyeballs, like people paying attention to the channel or whatever. So basically, some things still hold true. Sex sells. So like when we did the Let's Talk About Sex Nudity, that one got a lot of eyeballs. But surprisingly, does anyone woof anymore? So I think anything that's like cultural or pop cultural or whatever, I guess, which is kind of ironic because I didn't quite know, but something about the algorithm. So there's that.
Interesting. And guess what? I didn't have to pay anything.
Oh, are we moving? Oh, wait. Yeah, that's right. Oh, there we go.
So, in the meantime, Gary, tell us about our patrons.
We want to thank our lovely patrons over on patreon.com/cubsoutloud. You can join and you get extended versions of the episodes. You also get different rewards, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But we want to recognize we have 3 levels or tiers of patrons. You have the Cubster level, which is Charles W. and Michael K. So we appreciate them. Our Uber level, which happens to be Dave T, Lee, and Michael Q. And our buddies, which are Lloyd G and Michael V.
Yay!
So speaking of Patreon, we are excited because very soon we're going to have new merch design stuff that's coming out through our website at zazzle.com/cubsoutloud. As you may see, we'll talk about it a little bit later. We have different designs of like merch available, and we have some new things that we've been working on. So our patrons should be on the lookout for notification that they will be able, if you're at the reward tier, to get new items. So yeah.
And from our patrons too. Well, we had a busy month.
We did. We ended up with 5 episodes over the course of the month, the way it lined up. So we had our 745, which is what's going on for the month of May. Then we did 741, All Tea No Shade, our annual LGBTQIA plus Pride discussion, this time for 2024. We already mentioned it. 742 was the Does Anyone Woof Anymore? And then 743, we followed that up with Our Tastes in Men, Then versus Now. I think that one also got like some interest from folks in terms of what they wanted to hear and or see what we had to talk about. And then last week we did Landscape of Relationships. Dr. Edward Angelini Cook rejoined us after a brief hiatus, and we talked about confidence. So, and that we talked about I think a little while ago. Just quick. That makes 32 episodes.
Oh.
For Landscape of Relationships. So if you're newer to the podcast and you're not familiar with it, LOR as our series is something we started with Ed, let me double check, back in 2019.
Oh.
And it was originally going to be a one-off, just a show, and then we quickly realized there was more that we could discuss, and so we have been doing that now for a couple of years. Almost 36 shows. So my recommendation to folks is if you're interested, did we make that a playlist yet, Jeff?
I think so.
For our Landscape of Relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I suggest that people go check it out. I think it's a great way to learn more about like not just like romantic relationships, but work relationships, family dynamics. Like there's a lot of stuff that we discuss in there. We talk about in-laws, we talk about chosen family, we talk about intimacy. I'm just looking through the different topics like apologizing, communication, jealousy, new relationships, struggles, adulting. So yeah, it was great to have Ed back. So we had that last week, and then we're here.
Yay! Brand new month. And guess what? It's time for this. Help wanted.
So now you get to see us in real time.
Actually looking at these. Yeah.
Actually looking at these.
I need help breaking in my bed.
Shameless self-promotion.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I don't know. I think that the person has a nice ass. Well framed by the jockstrap. That bed looks amazing.
Is this the first time this has ever been done on the show?
Wow. Maybe? No.
And for those who don't know, it's a tweet from Box Cub.
Whoever that is. The reason why I ask is for those that aren't aware of the history of the podcast. A long time ago, there was this website called Craigslist that is still around today, but it had a hookup application section, and we as a group of hosts over the years, we would pull different what was there? Missed encounters, I think was what it was. Misconnections. And so we would pull these from across the country and kind of compete to read amongst them for that week, which was the best post. And so that ended up going away, and we pivoted and we turned it into the
Tumblr.
oh yes, that's right. It was Tumblr for a very long time. So it was Tumblr Pics, and then Tumblr pivoted and didn't allow adult content really much anymore. So then we moved to Twitter, which we're still doing. But I asked the question because I don't know if anyone's ever used their own
And I don't
assets, as it were.
I don't think so. At least not.
And I'm not criticizing. I'm just asking the question. I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
By the way, I do need a camera. Take some more shots.
I don't recall us self-promoting in a way, but I mean, I know Jeff has mentioned like the porn that he's done in the past, and I know there's
With
been
only one.
porn, and I feel like maybe, possibly maybe when we were doing Tumblr stuff, like Chester or somebody would put stuff of theirs that they had done. But I don't. I think it's been a while since we've done it on Twitter, and unless I've done it myself, which I don't recall, but who knows?
No, I think you do more porny stuff, and you don't really share your porny stuff on.
Yeah, I usually
In
don't
here.
on here, but I always give my Twitter in the
Yes,
end.
And
So,
Blue Sky.
right. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that was. I mean, ass. Ass.
Hello, but and I'm not sure if you can tell I'm digging around.
Yes,
You see that? See me going,
it's the. Did I get that picture?
I was trying to make it like a seductive face, but the camera angle. But this is me trying to take a picture of my brand new bedroom.
Right.
From my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Totally understand.
Not easy. In any case, David.
Okay. I said they really liked this. This is from Kyle XL25, and it is a picture of Kyle and their state of undress. They are open, I'm assuming hoodie or at least some kind of well, not caftan, like sweater type shirt.
Yeah, it looks like it's a
something.
it looks like it's a robe, but it's not your terry cloth robe. It almost looks like it's a jersey knit.
I think I have something similar to it in my office that I use.
So it's almost like a sweater jacket
Yeah.
type thing. Like I can see some of my coworkers wearing something like this. It's not a smock,
Yeah.
but, it's not a
Yeah.
wrap. Anyways, Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's open.
it's casual.
I mean, their fur is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's what got me. So they are naked under this terry cloth, whatever you want to call it.
Well, you never know. They could be wearing knee highs.
They could. Yeah. They could.
I mean, it gets cut off at a certain point.
Right.
Before you can see it again.
So you can't see. They could have slippers on.
Yes. But you get a very, very, very furry chest and belly and legs and crotch and what have you. And they do cut it off at
Right,
the tasteful level. Yeah. But
right above it.
yeah. There's also a hint of a tattoo on the left thigh there too, which are kind of like fun. So yeah. Very handsome, very, very, very bearded. I was finding it interesting because it looks like their eyes are like not quite open, but yeah, they're cute. They're very cute. I was very
Okay, so I have a question for the two of you. What is hanging on the wall next to their door?
Or sure, we can't back.
Well, I want you to tell me what you think it is. because I've zoomed in on it, and from the initial picture, it looks a lot like one thing, and I don't think that's what it is.
It's definitely not any, no.
Is it an umbrella?
So this is what it looks like zoomed in.
Ah,
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too, but it looks like it's a,
I mean, it could be. What the shape is giving.
I don't,
The shape is giving.
It's giving adult toy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I can
really? Like right next to the front door?
the thing is,
It's gonna mount it?
that is definitely, while I can see what you mean by shaping this, this looks like some sort of like, let's say reflection.
I mean, it does. It also kind of looks like a sword.
Mm-hmm. And there's something again. There's something like along the wall higher. Right? This is we go in depth. There's something like coming from it down, and I'm trying to
Like
decide.
it's either a cord or
Yeah.
a chain
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, something.
I don't know. But if you don't pay close attention and you just kind of briefly look and you're like, really? So you're just going to put a dildo up on the wall next to the door.
And that's a little high for where you put a dildo.
Well, it's not mounted to mount you. It's just it's just on the wall. Anyways,
It looks like some kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just amused at
Well, I
the,
can see the impression of a possible dildo or a butt plug or something. It is definitely. I don't know.
But they're sexy.
yeah, it amused me.
I
let's
mean,
just say
yeah.
that.
I mean, that's a given.
Yes.
Agreed.
Huh.
But the distraction. Oh, this one.
Gary.
So mine is titled "An employee had always dreamed." ... The actual Twitter post says, "An employee had always dreamed to get fucked by his hot bear boss. Finally, the dream came true." And this is by @AlBobby XXX. It's called My Bear Boss. It says coming soon. It's a preview trailer of a amateur-made film, and it's hot.
It's a.
I was waiting for one of you.
I thought I hit mute. I didn't.
It is on their OnlyFans and
Yeah.
just for fans. So
Right, but
Bobby,
but to be fair, this I see I already have mine on mute.
That's content created for music.
royalty free.
That is brown chicken, brown cow.
Yeah, very much. But yeah, I've been following Al Bobby for
Yeah?
a while.
Alan Bobby.
Alan Bobby.
Al Bobby.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
saying Al Bobby on their things, but I've been following them for a while. And yeah, so and I don't.
There's that one that we're like fucking in a showroom and a guy walks past.
Yes. Yeah, that was fun.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I liked the preview video, so I wanted to share it because I do think a fair amount of people have this fantasy.
That shot is their pin post.
The shower, yes.
And
Oh, that's fun. Okay.
Now I feel like I need to go see the pin post. And for any of you who are interested, this will all be on our. You can go to cubsoutloud.com and see. the
all links will be posted there.
Oh, I think I remember this one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I did definitely see this before. My favorite part is like how amused he is. Like, whoops, yeah.
Well, here's the thing: is he kind of just like he stops the motion, but just kind of like watches them pass and doesn't seem to separate.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, you don't know where this was. Like, I was intrigued when I saw that video clip, and I was like, okay, is this a bathhouse? Is this at a campground? Like, is this at a place where, like, this is an unexpected behavior, and that's why it's kind of not quite a big deal?
Yeah. I feel
As
like
opposed to the YMCA.
Yeah. I feel like looking at the picture and getting some context clues, this looks like probably like a campground shower,
Yeah.
something along those lines. Because so hey everybody, investigative reporter here. I'm noticing the tin roof up in the corner,
Not rusted.
not rusted. There you
See?
go. And it's clear like this was built. So I'm thinking it just might have been like this might be like a campground or something along those lines. Probably a gay campground where like, oh, no, that's fine. Right.
Yeah.
But they make sure that they're doing their content creation in an appropriate
Right.
location.
Right. Agreed.
All right.
All right, moving on to length. I might be interested.
Yeah,
Yes,
Damon.
you are.
Like, what is this business?
So, Tokusatsu is a YouTube page. Both, yeah, that happens. That's the thing. But they are essentially what caught my eye is they stream the original like Sentai's for the Sentai series, which is where Power Rangers came from, and they stream it pretty much constantly, and it's live stream, so you're not catching an episode like it's not each episode. It's just literally they play it on loop from beginning to end. And it's several of the ones that have been adapted into Power Rangers series. It's also been some that are not. And they also do other shows. Like I'm looking at their page right now, and they have like Reboot and Mask. But it's South Studios. Yeah, it is. That says Tokusatsu is your home for Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and more Tokusatsu, an award-winning 24/7 streaming channel from Shout Studios.
Yeah, so Shout Factory has the license for this content.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I think they also have like similar channels on some other of the streaming platforms as well.
Yeah,
Such as like Tubi or something like
yeah.
that.
It mentioned they have currently on YouTube, Pluto TV, and Twitch.
So they've got a bunch of stuff, and I think they also have their own VOD service, VOD service, on Shout Factory, where you can actually just like if you want to look for a specific show or something and not have to work for the linear stream. Love to see this is something that I'm well familiar with this type of thing. I'm surprised they haven't like tried to get into the primetime channel thing.
I do, and it's like I've been watching from here specifically. I've seen, I watched Jetman, which is an earlier season of it. I've seen some episodes of the Zeo Ranger, which is the one that became Power Rangers, the original Power Rangers, here. And then there's a few others that I've been enjoying.
Ranger.
Yeah.
I've actually seen most of the Sentai series.
And I've seen some of them, but I hadn't seen all of them. And this is a really great way for me personally to watch it because I can catch it when like if I have like a little free time, I can like catch it, jump in. I try not to sit for like hours on end trying to watch it, but I will watch like an episode or two. I caught the end of it was not oh gosh what was it? It was the one that was adapted in the second season of Power Rangers. It was
Are you talking about Die Ranger?
Die Ranger, yes.
Die Ranger is.
Yeah, I
I
did like it.
love Die Ranger. Die Ranger is so much better than them doing the.
Well, yeah. Actually, I was talking to Jim about that. So, Gary, who may not know what we're talking about. So the second season,
not.
yeah. So the second season of Power Rangers, they used the Zords and the White Tiger Ranger, which became the White Ranger for Power Rangers. for that series, but they didn't change the suits. And the main reason they didn't change the suits because Power Rangers was this phenomenon that became very popular, and they had a lot of merchandise. And
They thought that Americans wouldn't understand.
yeah, Americans. would
And
not
the thing
understand.
is, I think they would, especially considering they were using the same actors.
Yeah. We know now in a way that it could have potentially
And
worked.
they actually ended up doing that. And after once they hit the O Ranger.
Yeah.
I think it was
They
O
did,
Ranger,
yeah,
right?
they did Zeo. Yeah, they used Zeo Rangers.
Or Zeo.
It was Zeo.
Yeah, yeah. O Ranger.
Yeah.
Zeo, same thing. Same difference.
So yeah, that's my link for today.
Show Factory TV?
Yeah,
Is that what it is? I'm trying to find their
Gary.
I just have 2 picks for this month. I don't think I listed the first one yet. For those that are interested / like enjoy Star Wars as a IP, you may already be well aware over on Disney Plus there's a new series called The Acolyte, which takes place 100 years before The Phantom Menace. And it's after a whole new era that they've created called the High Republic. It's a live action show. It's actually, personally, I'm enjoying it. I like it. It is not without flaws.
Of course.
The review bombing that's been going on online with like Rotten Tomatoes and these other platforms is just really like outlandish. They're down to I think the last 2 episodes to come. It's an 8-episode series. I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen. Apparently, the person that like headlined the show said that a lot of questions were going to be answered, so they weren't going to really have cliffhangers. But there's also things that will not be explained. So if there is a potential season 2, like stuff will get fleshed out later on. So like the main concept of the first season is going to be handled and contained. I don't know. Like there's been a lot of it's very twisty, turny, intriguey. Like there's been theories about what this is and what that is and what's going on, and already things are proving not to be what people thought. So yeah, like this is the way I feel about this stuff. I'm here to be entertained. That's all I care about. I get that people are very passionate and they get really into the well, actually, technically, this is not how that, and it's like, for the love of everything, like. It's happened with Star Trek, it's happening with Star Wars. Like, you end up with this stuff where, like, previous content that was created is no longer canon. And it gets a special name. So, like, in Star Wars, they call it Legends. And, so people are, like, extrapolating and saying, well, this couldn't have happened, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, actually, like, there's new ownership. There's been new ownership for years. George doesn't have it. It belongs to Disney. They're doing what they're doing. And what is ironic to me is, a lot of the podcast stuff that I watch and listen to, they're all like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. It's that simple. Like if you're not interested in it, then stop watching it or whatever. You're part of the problem. Like if you keep watching it, like that's a view and that's a thing. And like, so it amuses me no end. So I just say, if you're somebody interested and you haven't watched it yet, it'll be done in a couple more weeks. Then go and watch the whole thing because they're releasing an episode a week. They're doing episodic as opposed to like binging.
I think
like all at once.
Disney does that most of the time, anyways.
Yeah, and so I mean, it just kind of depends. So there's that, and then every time I'm down here, because I don't have Max, aka Cinemax, as a streaming platform, but whenever I'm here visiting my friends, they got me into watching this show called Hacks. And honestly, it is probably one of my all-time favorite shows I have seen in a very long time. Jean Smart is in it. She's absolutely amazing as Deborah Vance. It's about a aged comedian who has a Las Vegas show, like a headlining like performance continually, that ends up getting approached to reduce the amount of shows that they do. And so it starts this whole spiral series of things. Long story short, I don't know how to explain it. Like there's a team of people. She's got a couple gays. That's like, so there's like gay subplots that come in and go out. It's so well written from a comedy perspective that you kind of get to see the inside of what it is to be a comedian and like to go on the road and like different stuff. And there's the whole dynamic of her being a woman. being a woman of age, like,
Mhm.
and then like this latest season was about reconciling paths because she told a lot of inappropriate jokes in the past because that's what comedy content was. So yeah, like they've had 4 seasons, or is it 3 seasons? And 3 seasons. They're about to have a 4th season, and we just finished watching it. Like when I got down here, they were like, oh, you should get caught up on Hacks, and so we were talking, and they were amazed how much stuff I remembered from when we left off that I had previously watched.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, well, this is when this happens, and blah blah blah. And they're like, how do you even remember that? Because they watched it and really loved it, and they don't even remember when. And I was like. And that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, I guess I'm really invested. I really do like the show if I remembered that much of the plot line and the story and the characters. So I highly recommend it. I liked it.
Actually, Max is the name of the service by Warner Brothers Discovery, who owns Cinemax and HBO and DC and all the Warner Brothers and all the Discovery.
Okay, well,
So it's not Max,
I'm
aka
not on
Cinemax.
any
It
of
is
those
just
platforms, though. So to me,
Thanks.
Max is just the Warner Brothers Discovery version of Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And Paramount Plus.
There we go. So yeah, the more you know.
so anyways, the show is called Hacks, Hacks, as in to be a comedy hack, and it's really really good. And then there's an assistant writer in the show, a character, Hannah. I can't remember what her last name is.
I've been there.
Yeah, she plays Ava, who's the assistant. She is so good in this. And in this last season, there was such a great emotional like scene. We were all in agreement. We're like, she has to get an award. Like she has to get nominated. It was astounding. Anyways, but I really, really think that people should check it out if you're kind of interested in that.
Are you hungry?
Yeah, getting there.
Yeah, I'm a little bit hungry. I think people who are also hungry can tell us what their favorite foods are. They can do that over at comesOutLoud.com. Shoot us an email at comesOutLoud@gmail.com. And get a voicemail at 361-265-8255. That's 361-CWAL-TALK. You can also follow us on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Comes Out Loud, the appropriate place, the URL. Join our entourage chat at bit.ly/telegram-COL. Find out when we're planning on recording these shows, when we actually do them live. Sorry we didn't do it this time. We're still figuring this type of thing out.
Yeah.
But that will be at bit.ly/calendar-COL. You can get various accoutrements, such as maybe some new designs, but we've got a handy towel, we've got some hats, got some shirts. Since it's my foreplay, got you can celebrate the next gen house, which includes these two lovely folks. I'm old school.
You get to say this because this was said. So as a sidebar, this was said by somebody at the Pride because they got stopped by security coming in. They got out to their car and came back, and security was like, "Are you a part of the board?" And the person said, "Board, I'm the founder of this event."
So you're a founder. Founder.
You can put that on your title.
But some of our designs were designed by Smash. You can find more of his work at tpublic.com/users/bear. All the rest of it is at zelda.com/comesoutloud. You can also become a patron at patreon.com/comesoutloud. And if you want to send us a donation, you can do that at paypal.me/comesoutloud. Please stop over to your favorite podcast platform. Rate us, review us. Gets us up in the algorithm. More people will find us. We would appreciate that very much. You can find me anywhere on the internet as Boxset, Box Puppy, Box Cub, Box something or other. And
If you wish to get in touch with me, you can find me at SpeederCub79. That's TheaterCub79 on most related sites are on Facebook. Or you can find me as pup_umber on Twitter or pup_79 on Blue Sky. Those are not safe for work. For the safe for work stuff, you can find me as DMAGamer79 on Twitter.
If you want to get in touch with me, you can pretty much find me anywhere online as GareBear73.
and with that, say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.
You know, I just realized that I couldn't switch the scene while I was playing music because of the way I'm doing it. So we're still there. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
post show.
Yeah, there we go. We're going to the title card for a second, and then I can do my. Yeah.